Welcome back, everybody. So glad you could be with me here today. I'm going to try to keep this brief, but the list is so long, even for a beginner's toolkit. If you want to make things, you need a beginner's toolkit. And you want to keep that toolkit simple because while you're learning to make things, you also need to learn to maintain your tools. All right. We want to work with wood. You need a way to mark it and to measure it. Okay? You can work with these. You can work with stick rulers. I have one here. You're going to need a square of some sort. Okay? So this is what I learned on. I learned on the folding carpenter's rule. And I've been through quite a few of these. So when I had an opportunity, I bought, I think, a box of 6, and I have 2 or 3 packed away, are brand new. This one's not too bad. As a machine tool woodworker, I would always use this on the table saw because if I happened to nick it, I didn't damage the saw blade. If I would be using a metal ruler, it would damage your saw blade and the metal ruler. So when it comes to squares, I did a video on squares years ago. Can you have too many squares? What's interesting about squares is they have different functions. This is more of a carpenter square, the speed square, but believe it or not, it is dead on cabinet making square. So that's why I keep it in here, because every once in a while, this shape comes in handy. So you're going to need a square. You're going to need a knife, some sort of a folding knife. I don't care what kind. I'm going to have to do a talk on this particular knife, and the way I have it sharpened right now is a double bevel. I really should have a single bevel marking knife. Why? More in another video. So, at bare bones, you need a square. You need marking pencils, marking knife. Okay? You need ways to measure, so you need rulers. Now, we got squares, we got rulers. So let's say you're going to go to the lumber yard and you're just going to buy dimensioned lumber, 1x4s, 1x6s, 1x8s, up to 1x12. And you're going to make something from that. 3/4 inch thick wood, pre-dimensioned. Okay, so you've got your square, and you've got your measuring devices and your marking devices. The next thing you're going to need is a saw. Now, there's a story behind this saw. This saw has been with me since I was a teenager. And the last person, I used to be able to send it out to different hardware stores, and they would send it to a machine shop where they would sharpen it. The last person to sharpen this was someone you might know. You might have seen him on YouTube. You might have seen him on Facebook. His name is Bob Page. And he sharpened this one on April 9th of 2016. Now you have to remember, I was deep in the middle of baseball bat making at that point. I wasn't doing any more cabinet making or carpentry unless it was something around here. So I sent this off to him and I made this guard, which I need to drill a couple holes and get some strips of leather to tie it on. So this was sharpened 15 degrees rake, 25 degrees fleam, and it is cross-cut, but don't know the number of teeth. Let's see if I can guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It could be 10 or 12 points to the inch. So this is sharpened only as a crosscut. It was what I called a hardware saw. It is not a special handle, but this went on every remodeling job that I did as a contractor. And I had this back when I was a cabinet installer as a teenager. And it had gotten rusty several times. And there's still some rust on it. Keep it waxed and oiled. Don't use it as much as I used to. So if you have saws like this that get knocked around, oftentimes I would have this in the car or the truck if I was going to a lumber yard or something, and you happen to have a board that was a little too long. This was before the days of, them custom cutting it for you. And cross-cut my own wood on site. So getting back to tools, you're going to need some way to cut it. There's lots of different saws on the market. There's the Japanese saws, which I have a whole collection of. You have these single-handled, some people used to call them dovetail saws, but they're just one is cross-cut and one is rip. All right? They would be very common saws to have. In fact, what did they call these? They actually called this one, the one that's a rip, a tenon saw. So if you're going to do dovetails, you need a tenon saw. If you're going to do cross-cutting, you're going to need a cross-cut saw. Now, what's next? Well, if you're going to do any planing, of course, you're going to need a plane. And we've talked about beginner's planes over and over again, either a number 4 or number 5 for the average person. It could be a number 3 and a 5 1/4, whatever suits you. And then after that are chisels. I really encourage you, if you're a beginner, to get an inexpensive set of chisels, okay? I'm not saying cheap, I'm saying inexpensive. Now, these were downright cheap, but, and there was just a good video by a friend of mine. He talked about why we sharpen the bevels with 3 bevels. And I don't want to steal his thunder, but you can look that up on YouTube. It's actually faster than sharpening one single bevel. So you're going to need chisels. Then you're going to need a way to hit the chisel. I recommend a chisel mallet. Why? It's heavier and it's dedicated, boom, dead blow. Can you use a metal hammer? Sure, but this is a carpenter's hammer. This hammer is designed for putting nails in and ripping nails out. Okay? This is an old Stanley 16 ounce that I've had for years, and I broke the handle and I ordered up a new octagon handle as opposed to a round smooth handle. Okay? It gets more roundish right down at the end, but up here it's octagon. Really nice, comfortable handle. And that's good old-fashioned American hickory. So, what else is there? Screwdrivers, of course, squares. After this, it starts getting a little more complicated. But if you want to make a box, okay, you need a saw, you need a way to measure it and mark it, and then if you're going to just nail it together, a hammer and some nails. That is all you need, along with, of course, your square. If you're going to start getting fancier and you're going to do ripping and you need to plane edges, you're going to need a plane. And of course, as you start going down the path, you're going to go into chisels. Now, on chisels, 1/4 inch if you're going to do mortising, 1/2 inch and 1 inch for general purpose, or 3/4 inch. Other than that, to start, no, you don't need anything bigger. There is a benefit to a wide 1.5 or 2 inch chisel for certain tasks, but there's also a benefit to a narrower chisel. 12 minutes so far. Not a very short video, but think about what you want to do and build your toolkit around that. If all you want to do is make jewelry boxes or cigar boxes or cremation urns that are no bigger than that, you can keep your toolkit very, very small and build yourself some different jigs along the way to make every step of the process easier. So, I hope this helps somebody. Like, subscribe, and share. Didn't make any shavings today, but I felt this was important. And so I hope you, oh, don't forget your wax and your oil in a can, or at least a can of oil, but wax is good to have on hand also for putting screws in. Walter out.